At the Grand Palace. Timbuktu. This is a captivating story about an arrogant prince called Babu. Babu impregnated one of his palace humble and beautiful servants called Amina. Amina is young and very beautiful. Babu notices her beauty when she was employed at a young age and brought to the palace as a maid. He had since made amorous advances towards her, which she wittingly extricates herself from. Babu lies to innocent Amina about his love for her and his intention to marry her. His advances became so relentless that Amina eventually gave in. They share romantic moments in the woods under the glittery moonlight. When Amina told Babu that she is with a child, Babu was enraged with anger, citing how she could be pregnant when she should have known better, because that could lead to him losing his position as the heir apparent to the throne of the kingdom of Timbuktu. Amina flees to Azra. Amina is left with an excruciating agony of neglect. Disappointed with herself for trusting him with her virginity, she takes a decision that changed her life forever. One night, under the bright light of the full moon, Amina packed a few of her belongings and scaled her way out of the mighty palace without informing anyone. She gives up her privileged life in the palace, never to return. Amina walked for days across the mountains on foot, rivers on boats, and rainy forests to reach her destination, a small, busy, thriving business town, Azra, her hometown. The only person surviving in her family is her blind grandmother, who still lives in their old, dilapidated house. Amina finds a job in a local laundry house operated by a kind-hearted old man called Yasin. She worked so hard to take care of her grandmother and to save some money for herself and her unborn baby. 6 years passed and Amina has an intelligent and handsome son called Samir. Her grandmother had passed a year prior. The now old Yasin was impressed by Amina's discipline and dedication to work, shyly asked her to marry him. He was once married and lost the only woman he had ever been with to the blackpox epidemic disease that ravaged their city many years ago. Amina, without hesitation, accepted his proposal, asking why it took him so long. Yasin has become so attached to Samir and felt, for the first time in his life, like a father. He helps to bring up Samir, a child that he never had. On his dying bed, Yasin brought out a key and gave it to his wife. "This is the key to the wealth that I inherited from my father, and that which I saved all my life. They are all yours now," he said to her. He asked her to move the table at the corner of the bedroom. She lifted the dusty blanket, and there is a door under lock with an entrance leading to an underground storage only known to him. He smiles and says, "Make good use of whatever is down there. I was only satisfied with piling up wealth. You should find happiness making good use of it." He closes his eyes, smiling like he is just going to sleep. He died a happy and contented old man. Timbuktu. Meanwhile, at the palace, Babu is having a difficult time contending with his half-brother Buknu and his ugly and chubby wife Ralia. Ralia always wants to know what is going on in everyone's affairs. She sets spies everywhere who furnish her with information about any occurrence in the palace. She despises Baba's wife Jamila, because Jamila is very pretty and loved by all for her good heart and kindness to all, including the palace servants. Also, she is the obvious candidate to be the next queen when the father-in-law, the king, passes. The land of Timbuktu is crisis. There has been drought for many years, which has resulted in the failure of crops and food production. The king is bedridden and he is not happy with his first son Babu for not doing enough as the heir apparent to the throne. Buknu, his second son, is a medical practitioner and he takes care of the king. He uses their consultation moments to discuss how incompetent his half-brother is, therefore always making the effort to divert attention of the king towards himself and his ugly and deceitful wife Ralia. Timbuktu has been on the crossroads between the northern territories and the south. This makes Timbuktu a melting point for traders from all walks of life, dealing with commodities like silver, gold, diamonds, spices, and blankets made of the finest handmade yarns. Scholars, poets, musicians, and circus performers are all attracted to life the city had to offer. But that was in the past when Timbuktu was at its peak of civilization. Babu, a merchant by occupation, had just finished preparing for a business. His merchandise includes mostly of blankets and silk, which are in high demand in the south. He is accompanied by 4 armed guards to escort his cargo. His destination, Azra. Azra. In Azra, Amina has transformed her business into the biggest business empire Azra had ever witnessed. She owns the biggest investments in the city's shipping company. She has restaurants, bathhouses, fashion houses, where the rich and the elite come to have their clothing tailor-made. And of course, to keep the spirit of her husband happy, a well-organized and staffed laundry house. She created jobs for the poor in the city, and she is, as usual, well-loved by all, for her generosity and care for the poor and the needy. She is in fact the richest of all Azra and beyond. Samir, the only son of Amina, is grown into an exceptionally handsome young man. He is a businessman and doing well for himself. He is into real estate, hotel, and international business consultancy. At one point, his business was in decline for a bad investment decision he made. His mother sent a check of substantial amount of money, but he declines his mother's intervention to save his business. He is brought up by his mother to be tough and strong, independent man. Though he is kind-hearted like his mother, he is strict and smiles little when dealing with his business associates and those around him. One late cold, rainy and thunderstorming night, a coach pulls up in front of Samir's guest house. The bell rings and Samir's assistant, a well-dressed old man called Lamer, answers the door. Lamer opens the door and quickly asks the wet and soaked gentleman to come in. The gentleman steps inside the building as the light from the lantern Lamer holds shines on his face. He is no other person but a weary Babu. He arrives in Azra alone and devastated. His cargo came under attack in the mountains on his way to Azra. None survives but him alone. His guards and other merchants traveling with their convoy were ambushed and decimated. The soldiers died, making way for him to escape and to survive the onslaught. Samir wakes up in the morning and gets ready for work. He puts on his beautiful long white robe and sleeveless short overcoat. He puts on his Arabian-style hat. He picks up his business flat briefcase. He took a last sip of a hot cup of coffee on the table and heads towards the door. Samir has no clue of how his father looked like. His mother had succeeded in keeping who his real father is a well-guarded secret. He only knew his adopted father, Yasin, as his biological father. Samir gets to the hotel and opens the door to enter and was greeted by Lamir. Lamir is holding a mop as he opened the door and slightly bowing to welcome Samir, his boss. Samir nodded and slightly bowing as a sign of respect to his employee, the old Lamir. He proceeds to his office space and immediately settled down for work. He grabs a file from a shelf filled with books and documents. On his wide office table is a miniature of a community housing project he intends to build on soon. Babo, who had had a terrible journey from Timbuktu to Azra, walks down from the stairs, shabbily dressed to go out for his purpose of coming to Azra. He gives his room key to Lamir. He told Lamir not to bother about servicing his room until he leaves after 3 business days. He then walks towards the door and exited. He still has some survived merchandise to trade with at the market. He is looking forward to doing business with the rich businesswoman everybody across the plains is speaking about. Lamir hangs up the key on a well-organized key shelf behind the counter and grabs a logbook to go through. If you enjoy this video, like, share, and subscribe.